Now let me define. I said knowledge equal to creativity plus righteousness plus courage. What is creativity? Now you attempt with me, all of you, when I say. Will you say? Learning gives creativity. Creativity leads to thinking. Thinking provides knowledge. Knowledge makes you great. Knowledge makes you great.
Hello everyone, welcome. Today I present to you the 5th edition of the Dr. Kalam Memorial Conclave on Livable Planet Earth. Before I begin, it is my extreme honor to present to you the esteemed chief guest and the awardees and the guests of honors for today's conclave. So please join with me in welcoming our chief guest, Dr. Rajiv Kumar, who is the Vice Chairman of the Niti Aayog. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would also like to welcome, sir, thank you for coming, sir. I would also like to welcome from Dhaka. We are joined by none other than the Nobel Laureate, Professor Muhammad Yunus, who is also our awardee today. Welcome, Professor Yunus.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you for joining us, sir. And our next guest today, another awardee and our guest of honor, is none other than the renowned educationist you all would have seen, Dr. Sonam Wangchuk, who is joining from Ladakh. Welcome, Dr. Wangchuk. Thank you for joining. It's a pleasure that I will get an honor to speak in front of all of you and all our audience. And before we begin, I would like to introduce the purpose of the conclave, and then we will proceed with the awards and also the launch of the kitchen. So 5 years ago, on this day, 2015, Dr. Kalam had visited IIM Shillong, and I was with him that day for a 2-day course, and that course was titled How to Create a Livable Planet Earth. And while giving that lecture at about 6:35 p.m. on this day, 5 years ago, he collapsed on the stage and he passed away. Now, the last paragraph which he was reading when he was there and I was standing right next to him was the fact that he believed that the collective energy of the youth of the world and in India is enough to conquer all our problems, common problems. And he said, disease, poverty, and illiteracy. And today, I think those 3 words are extremely important, and all of our esteemed guests have, Professor Yunus and Dr. Wangchuk have addressed already in the past 2 days, and they have stressed on education and how poverty needs to be taken care of. And Dr. Kalam believed that the best force to take care of that is the ignited mind of the youth. He said that the ignited mind of the youth is the most powerful resource on the earth, above the earth, and under the earth. So when Dr. Kalam passed away, in that moment of grief, we also found a moment of determination, and that was the beginning of the Dr. Kalam Center. Dr. Kalam Center formed with the sole aim to carry forward the visions and missions of Dr. Kalam in the idea that small aim is a crime. And that's why what Dr. Kalam said, small aim is a crime, we have always set on a high ambition. We worked in the field of environment, education, healthcare, and now significantly in the coronavirus case. In the past 12 months, we have had 700 teachers and librarians who have worked with us, and they've gone out to schools, remote areas of India, and given quality education, especially in science and math, 2 subjects which Dr. Kalam emphasized a lot. We have a 2.3 million strong community on social media, making it one of the largest NGOs on social media in the world. In the past 1 year, we have benefited about 2.5 lakh students, all from underprivileged backgrounds, many of them in children observatories and almost everybody remaining in government schools. In the coronavirus crisis, we've been working with several governments across India, including the Government of India through the Department of Personnel and Training. We're working across with nearly all IIMs and IITs, interfacing with them to provide the quality, content, and the research needed to emerge into this new world. We've also run a kitchen campaign already. Some part of it, the new part of it will be inaugurated today. And the numbers will be there in a short video, which we will present. We also established, in fact, Dr. Rajiv Kumar was there, and he was the one who launched it, India's first virtual water incubator in 2017. So in this day of grief, of losing our missile man, our inspiration, and personally to me, my wonderful teacher, and our beloved president, we are also finding the inspiration to continue his visions with more vigor, more energy, and with the blessings of the great man himself. We want to take the vision of Dr. Kalam beyond the span, the time span of one life. We want to make it immortal, and that's our goal. Today's conclave is dedicated to the final lecture of Dr. Kalam, which is creating a livable planet Earth. And that is the title of our conclave, which has been going around since 2016. It's the first time that this conclave is being organized virtually, and a lot of people from all around the world are joining us. And in this new normal of the world, what we call it the future of the world, we are all collectively reminded of our teacher from the past who taught us to dream big in the future. Today, we'll also be awarding Professor Muhammad Yunus, who's a Nobel Laureate, who's very kindly agreed and to be present with us. And he's already given a wonderful lecture yesterday. And also, we're joined by Dr. Sonam Wangchuk, who's also one of our awardees for his exemplary work in the area of environment and education. So I welcome you all. I welcome also all the people who are joining us from all around the world on social media. I also welcome the members of our team, our librarians, and also some of the Kalam Kitchens who will be joining us live today. Thank you, sir, for your time. Thank you for everybody for joining us. And now I would move over, with your permission, to the inauguration of the Kalam Kitchen. So for that purpose, there's a short video, and after the video, all of you, if you could bless us by saying that we are inaugurating it. We will bring a team live from a village in Gujarat who are operating this. They're all waiting for us. So I would request Preksha to please play the video for Kalam Kitchen.
नमस्ते, जय जगत। कोरोना वायरस से ज्यादा करुणा वायरस कंटेजियस है। आपको लगता है दुनिया में कोरोना वायरस और ज्यादा फैलेगा, इसकी इंटेंसिटी और ज्यादा बढ़ेगी मानवता के लिए?
How to spread kindness or karuna in the times of corona. This has been our motto and our mission for the past 4 months. One of the biggest challenges which emerged across India during the times of the coronavirus lockdown was the exodus of the millions and millions of migrant workers. And most often, these are the most marginalized segments of society, both economically and socially. Pictures after pictures filled the minds and hearts of all Indians, of masses moving away, even desperately, from their work centers in the big Indian cities, of the Indian summer, into their native lands in remote India. To help this situation, Kalam Center reoriented its educational teams all across India, especially in the states of Telangana, Gujarat, and Madhya Pradesh, in order to help the needy. And so far, through our community kitchen program, we have served meals to 4.5 lakh people. And we've also helped 60,000 people by helping them get monthly rations. Today, on this day, when we remember Dr. Kalam, on his 5th anniversary of passage, we are inaugurating a new kitchen in a village called Leelapur in Gujarat. This kitchen will provide employment to about a dozen people who will be cooking meals for about 12,000 kids, which will be distributed all across villages near in Gujarat. In another remote Indian settlement deep down in the Himalayas called Netala, a new program is also going to be launched, which will get monthly rations to 350 families and hence benefiting about 2,000 individuals in a remote area of the nation. Today, with the blessings of all the guests present, we would like to declare the opening and the inauguration of the new Kalam Kitchen in Leelapur and the Kalam Kitchen in Netala, Uttarakhand.
Very nice.
So the team is joining, and with all your blessings, this is the team which is joining. You can see them on the screen, and that's the Kalam Kitchen, and those are the people who are working there, and they're serving thousands of meals on a daily basis to nearby villages. That's the mission. So with all your blessings, sir, if we could declare it open.
Well, yes, we declare it open, and a great pleasure to get it off the ground.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Right, sir. So we'll now best wishes to the Kalam Kitchen team there. आप सबको खूब खूब बधाई और खूब काम करो छे. हाँ? नमस्कार.
दिखा नहीं इनका. I couldn't see them.
Sir, I think they can hear. They can't speak. They are mute, but they're all hearing us. So
I thought we could see them so that we could wave. But that's okay. Let's go on. Let's move on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll do that. Right, sir. So, sir, the next thing which we want to do in the agenda is the award function. This is the award for Dr. Kalam Memorial Award for creating a livable planet Earth. I declare the award for Dr. Sonam Wangchuk. I will read the citation and also I will request my team to put up the small presentation which we have put up for this purpose. Dr. Sonam Wangchuk was born in Ladakh and he has worked in the education field for 27 years. In 1988, he finished his engineering studies and founded SECMOL, which is Student Education and Cultural Movement of Ladakh, which aims to bring the reform in government school systems in Ladakh. In 1994, he was instrumental in the launch of Operation New Hope, which is a collaboration of the government, village communities, and civil society to bring reforms in government schools, where village education committees started taking ownership of state schools, training teachers in child-friendly ways and rewriting books. As a result of his work, the pass percentage of 10th or matriculation rose from a dismal 5% to 55% in 7 years and 75% these days. Students who failed in their state exam, for them, he founded the SECMOL Alternative School campus near Leh, a special school where admission criteria is failure in exams and not grades. In order to solve the water crisis facing mountain regions due to climate change and fast melting glaciers, he invented a wonderful ice stupa artificial glacier, which is a well-celebrated technology. Dr. Wangchuk has been granted several awards and titles, including the prestigious Raymond Magsaysay Award in 2018, GQ Man of the Year Award in 2017, Rolex Award for Enterprise in 2016, and Ashoka Fellowship in 2002, I suppose. With those words, I welcome Dr. Wangchuk and I congratulate him for all his wonderful work, and with the blessings of Dr. Rajiv Kumar, the Vice Chairman Niti Aayog, I request you, sir, to please grant Dr. Wangchuk the 2020 edition of the Dr. Kalam Memorial Award for creating a livable planet Earth.
My great pleasure, and I can just only stand up virtually and give you the award. Congratulations. Thank you, sir. A great honor. Great honor.
So I just want to also tell you and Dr. Wangchuk and Professor Yunus that the handprint which is there is actually the handprint of Dr. Kalam. So we once in one of the functions we got his handprint, and this is the handprint which we have printed at the background. So in a way, he's also blessing us and also greeting us on this day. So congratulations to Dr. Wangchuk. I would request Dr. Wangchuk now to say his acceptance address for a couple of minutes. Over to you, Dr. Wangchuk.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be sharing a stage with Rajiv, Professor Yunus, Rajan Palji, and so many others in your team. It's a great honor, particularly to be associated with Dr. Kalam Award. I have known him quite fondly, and Dr. Kalam, as we know, was very passionate about education and youth. And in 2006, I vividly remember when he accepted our invitation and came and inaugurated the textbooks that we had made contextual to the mountain regions in Leh itself. The other amazing qualities that are so relevant today in the world that Dr. Kalam was an epitome of was his simplicity. Simplicity was, something infectious, something you couldn't not notice, and it inspires us. And today, the whole world needs that simplicity of life to make a livable planet, as you mentioned, he was also championing for. So inspired by such great personalities, we launched the I Live Simply movement, which kind of brings Mahatma Gandhi's and Dr. Kalam's thoughts to present day, so that people can live simpler lives and that way contribute to the livability of the planet, not just for human beings, but for all living beings, all sentient beings on this planet. Similarly, the other touching quality that I very much admire and take inspiration from is his patriotism. Patriotism, not in a narrow way, but the kind that is your love and stewardship of the country that you belong to. It could be a Muslim in India or a Hindu in Bangladesh or Pakistan, just loving your country that you live in and taking stewardship of it. And that's what today we all need to take stewardship of throughout the world, to take our own country's care and make them Atmanirbhar, as we say, self-reliant. Not India becoming Atmanirbhar, but each country becoming Atmanirbhar, producing locally, consuming locally, and not becoming dependent to any particular country. So these are the qualities that really inspire us today, and I think it will go a long way to guide the world. And I take great pleasure and honor in accepting this award. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sonam ji, for accepting the award, and thank you, Rajiv ji, for giving away the award. So now I move on to the next item on the agenda, and that is, of course, the award for our Nobel laureate, Professor Muhammad Yunus, who's joining us from Dhaka. So I will read the citation and then request you to grant away the award. I'll request my team to play the small presentation which we have also prepared for it. Professor Muhammad Yunus was born in the city of Chittagong and received his education from the Dhaka University and further completed his PhD in economics from Vanderbilt University in 1969. As a student and as well as a professor of economics, he wanted to practice what he had learned. And therefore, in 1983, he established the Grameen Bank in Bangladesh, inspired by the belief that credit should be considered as a human right. From Dr. Yunus's personal loan of small amounts of money to destitute basket weavers in Bangladesh in the mid-70s, the Grameen Bank has advanced to the forefront of burgeoning world movement towards eradicating poverty through microlending. Replicas of Grameen Bank operate in more than 100 countries worldwide. In fact, I'm told that a lot of times these replicas are called the Grameen model itself. Training has also been provided to people to eradicate the reluctance in borrowing money and introducing people living in the remotest areas to the idea of banking. Professor Yunus was a member of the International Advisory Group for the 4th Conference on Women, a post to which he was appointed by none other than the Secretary General of the United Nations. He has served on the Global Commission of Women's Health, the Advisory Council for Sustainable Economic Development, and the UN Expert Group on Women in Finance. Professor Yunus is a recipient of many international awards. He has been awarded with the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006 for founding the Grameen Bank and pioneering the concept of microcredit. He's also been ranked as on the #2 position for the Foreign Policy magazine's list of the top 100 global thinkers, and he's received the United States Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2009 and the Congressional Gold Medal in 2010. He's been the former Chancellor of the Glasgow Caledonian University in Scotland and has published several books related to his finance work. In fact, I've been one of his avid readers. I probably have read all your books. And he is also, if I may add, Dr. Kalam had reference to a lot of your work in some of the books which we had co-authored. So I really humbly thank Professor Yunus for joining us and finding time to join us and also to accept the award. And I would request Dr. Rajiv Kumar to give away the award to Professor Yunus for the...
Great pleasure. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you
very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, I may request Professor Yunus to give his acceptance address. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Rajiv Kumar and my friend there. It's a great honor for me to receive this award with the name Abul Kalam on it. It's something very meaningful for me. I have known him very closely. I know, first I came to know about him as you described, as a rocket man and a missile man and all that. But I thought he was a devoted scientist going around doing his work. Then I see him completely different way when he became the president. Then suddenly, after he left the position of the president, he showed up in Bangladesh to meet me and visit Grameen Bank. And I still thought he's so high up, he'll be having his great ideas and so on. But when he came, he's just a simple man, sitting there talking just like anybody else. And you could never think that he was the president of India and occupied the highest position in India. His modesty and simplicity is just beyond anybody's guess how simple a person can be. And we are trying to describe him as a missile man and rocket man and all that. That goes off right away. Then when you see him the simplest, a simple man in search of doing things for simple people. And that's what he's all about. He's just made up of all this. When he came to Bangladesh, he's visiting Grameen Bank and many other programs, I'm sure. But among his detailed program, he was not lecturing to the scientists, meeting the groups of scientists, or anything like that. He is his own self. These are his outer kind of decorations. But the real person is about how to make himself available to the people at the bottom. And he was dedicated to it. And he spent all his life after he left the president's position in achieving that. And the award that you give me and others is known as it's an award for creating livable planet. This is what he was looking for, how to make it a livable planet. And today we are talking about the global warming and so on. This is the core of the whole thing that he dedicated himself to. But the moment you talk to him, you cannot miss his message to the young people. He repeated it many times about dreaming. He's a dreamer himself, and he loved dreaming. And this is where our journey overlaps. And I don't use the word dreaming. I take the same spirit. I said imagination. I said, imagine the things that cannot happen at all. Wildest thing that you can imagine. And continue to imagine the world that you'd like to have. Forget about what it is. I try to emphasize by saying, same as President Abdul Kalam did, that if you imagine, it will happen. But if you don't imagine, it will never happen. So this is what he inspired the young people to imagine, to make this imagination. And hopefully that imagination will drive these young people to make this happen. That's why the focus on the young people. They are the one who can best dreamers to make things happen. So today he left us 5 years back, and he left his legacy of focusing on the poorest strata of the society. And Corona pandemic has shown us how terrible the situation is at the very bottom level. And you showed in your video how migrant workers living home, walking home, leaving their work, living for their home 1,000 miles away on foot. How desperate one has to be to make things happen. So these are the ugly part of our societies, in every society that we live in. Coronavirus kind of made it visible, and we cannot walk away from that. So what Abdul Kalam was trying to do is now everybody's work to make sure they don't have to walk miles. Nobody has to walk miles or go 1,000 miles to have a just survival livelihood. Survival livelihood should be available to every single person at the place they were born. They don't have to go any place. They just walk from home to the work. And that's the kind of economy he wants to build. So I remember today the words of Abdul Kalam, how passionate he was to create that world. We remember him with this award. I'll keep on remembering him, and I will feel proud that I have an award with APJ Abdul Kalam name on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Yunus, for joining us. Thank you. Message. So I will thanking both the awardees here and congratulating them. I would now request our chief guest, Dr. Rajiv Kumar, who's the Vice Chairman of the Niti Aayog and also has been a pillar of support to the Kalam Center and all its missions throughout, actually. He's a man of great ideas, great thoughts, and also a very compassionate heart. And of course, I'm not going to read his CV. It's huge. I would rather let him use that time to do the talking. So over to you, sir, Professor Dr. Rajiv Kumar. Over to you for your address and blessing us on this day and also remembering Dr. Kalam. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Srijan. Professor Yunus, Professor Wangchuk, all the people who joined here on this memorable day, because we remember the great man, Dr. Kalam. It's a real honor for me to be here, and I just couldn't resist Srijan's invitation when I heard that I would be associated with three such names, Dr. Kalam, Dr. Yunus, and Dr. Wangchuk. And really, my giving you the award is actually, in some sense, I feel embarrassed in some really, because it's really like Eklavya giving the award to Dronacharya, because that's really the way it is. So it's not, but it's an honor to have been done this. And once more, we have learned from your lives. We have learned from the lives of Dr. Kalam so much. And therefore, I just think of it as, in some sense, giving back, like a Guru Dakshina to both of you and for all the work that you've done for humanity. Friends, Dr. Kalam's memory is, of course, very cherished, and I congratulate the Kalam Center for carrying forward his memory for his work, and because it really needs doing. Because the livable planet is an idea, but I'm afraid still not understood. The importance is not understood by the very large majority. People don't realize that it's a real question today to be asked. Are we going to have a livable planet or not? Because people take it for granted, that there will be a livable planet, but we don't realize, that even in countries like India and Bangladesh and Nepal, which are so bountiful in water, for example, which are blessed with monsoon, which give you 1,000 millimeters of rain every year. We are now becoming a water-stressed region, because of what we are doing. I mean, I'm using that as an example simply to say that we could be well near the tipping point when this planet becomes unlivable, not just in terms of the nature and ecology, but also in terms of the inequalities that we've got between us. So that's one of the nature part. We are constantly, this whole Western notion of conquering nature, this whole Western notion, the Occidental notion of saying that man's final contradiction, Marx's word, that is between human beings and nature. This is not our tradition. Our tradition is to live with nature. Our tradition is to be one with nature. Our tradition is to be a part of it. And I think this particular thought needs as much awareness, as much advocacy, as much propagation as we can do. And I think to that extent, whatever Kalam Center is doing is of course splendid, is wonderful, but needs much more reinforcement. We should really think about how to help the Kalam Center in spreading this word about us being responsible for this planet and the only one that we've got. So I think that's something that we need to be really constantly going, because I'm sure Dr. Kalam would have, as he showed in his lifetime, until the last minute, he was propagating this, this thought about the livable planet. And I think all of us owe it to him that we do it. And I'm proud to say, I'm gratified to say that we in Niti Aayog are trying to contribute towards that in some ways. I like to just talk about very briefly on the two initiatives that we are trying to take here in Niti Aayog, to which I am very committed. One, which I have actually, if I've been devoting my last 1.5, 2 years, is the issue of agroecology. Where we want to have agriculture without chemical inputs. And I think that's a possibility. Now there are 30, 35 lakh farmers practicing it in India, because we know that the use of chemicals, the fertilizers, the pesticides, the weedicides are killing this land that we're living on, are converting it into barren land, because the organic carbon content continuously goes down. And there are large parts of area of our country and indeed the world, which is we are converting effectively into deserts, and it can be reversed. Now we have seen in many areas, and the work done by Subhash Palekar Saab, from India, 20 years of work, and I'm trying to spread that. And the amazing thing is that you can get the same yields, you can provide for food security, you can improve the farmer's income, and also improve nature and the land and the water resources by practicing, chemical-free agriculture, natural farming, the agroecology. Even President Macron is now talked about it, and I just recently had an international seminar on that, where the leading scientists were telling us that if you practice this, then you can actually use the water in the moisture. You can fix the water, the plants can fix the water, and which is 7 times the amount of water there is in the moisture than you have on the surface, ground surface, and the groundwater. So that's one idea, and I think this is, in some sense, my tribute to Dr. Kalam. If we can propagate this further in our region, in South Asia, so I think that's where we need it much more. The second idea, in the brief 2 or 3 minutes, is, I'm working with Srijan on this, is to follow up on what Dr. Kalam said about Pura and what Dr. Yunus just mentioned about why should anybody have to go thousands of miles to look for a living? Why should that be necessary at all? And I think this is where providing urban amenities to rural areas is a thing that we need to do. Technology now makes it possible. Technology now makes it possible to bring the library of the US Congress to this remotest village in our country. If we can connect it to the broadband, and we can achieve that. Technology has now made it possible to start thinking collectively, not without meeting physically, but in the cloud. You can meet virtually, you can discuss all the ideas. So what I'm going to try and do in Niti Aayog is to rethink the whole process of urbanization in our country. Which is that why should we follow again the Western models of creating the Manhattans and the London cities and the and the Chicagos of the world, where people agglomerate, where people rise up, people stay away from nature, they get completely cut off. Instead of that, we can think of urbanization which is much more nature friendly, which is where we can think of new cities and new towns and new urban, new sort of dwellings where work moves to the people rather than people moving to the work. And again, very briefly, technology makes it possible. You can today have decentralized energy completely. You can have decentralized education. You can have decentralized skill formation. You can have decentralized collaborative R&D, and you can have even decentralized manufacturing with the additive technology of that is now that we now have in manufacturing, where we are now through the means of 3D printing, you can do many things like that. So I think the time has come, and Professor Yunus and Professor Wangchuk, I really plead with you to spread these thoughts, both agroecology and rethinking urbanization and taking work to the people and making people live with nature and with their own habitat, so that they can have a much more fulfilling life than to be living in hovels and shanties, etc., trying to look for lives, trying to look for work, which has been the model so far. So those are the few ways in which we in Niti Aayog will try and take forward Professor Kalam's ideas. Again, once more, it's been a great honor to be associated with you and to be associated with President Kalam's name. And I look forward to working with you and with Dr. Kalam Center in the coming years. Thank you very much once more.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that wonderful address and such inspirational words. We are really inspired. Our whole team is very happy to take your missions forward and Dr. Kalam's visions forward with that together. And we're very happy to work with you, sir, and your words are very inspiring. And I think all the three guests present here, as a younger person out here in this crowd, I can say that the younger generation is highly blessed to have people like you to guide us into an optimistic future. Even through these times where we see pessimism, I think it's absolutely fabulous to find the right support and the right inspiration from guides like all of you. So with those words, I thank Dr. Rajiv Kumar for joining us today in this very momentous day for us. It's 2020, which is also Dr. Kalam's year, Vision 2020's year. So thank you, sir, for joining us and those inspirational words. I thank from the bottom of my heart Professor Mohammad Yunus for joining us all the way from Dhaka. Thank you, sir. Your words were very inspiring. I remember the thing which you said, that microcredit is a basic right. So financial inclusion is a human right, and that will stick to me forever. And also thank Dr. Sonam Wangchuk for joining us all the way from Leh in Ladakh, and his wonderful address which he gave on 24th, where he talked about the idea that there's a school for failures as well, and that's a concern for the younger people because today 90% is considered a failure. So there's a school for failure. So thank you for all of us, and also thank wholeheartedly the teams from the Niti Aayog, particularly Neeraji. I thank the team from Professor Yunus's office, particularly Shabir, and I thank the team from Dr. Sonam's office, particularly Michelle, and also my own team of Preksha, Miraj, Ishita, Vishakha, Saurabh, who's the one who was in Leelapur organizing this whole event in the background, and all others who have been instrumental in putting this together, and also Jayesh Bhai for connecting several of you together. Thank you, sir. And we once again remember Dr. Kalam and on this day, and we end this conclave with a song which will overlay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
कलम पकड़कर कलाम बनना चाहता हूँ, शिक्षा का रास्ता लेकर उन्नति का पैगाम बनना चाहता हूँ। ना हिंदू ना मुसलमान, मैं तो बस एक इंसान बनना चाहता हूँ, मैं तो बस कलाम बनना चाहता हूँ। तुम भी उठो, तुम भी बढ़ो, अब कलम उठानी